Hello there, students. I'm Mia, and I'm happy to have you join me today. Here at Boo Studios, our intent to investigate all things interesting expands to infinity. What is infinity? Why don't we explore that question today? Are you ready to get a little loopy with me? Print out the worksheet included in this lesson, grab a writing utensil, and let's get started. You may have heard the word infinity before. It's not just a catchphrase used by space toys. It's actually a concept that belongs to many studies, including mathematics, physics, and art. Infinity is defined as an indefinitely great number or amount. What that means is, infinity is the label used for things that are endless. People have been aware of the concept of infinity for thousands of years. Ancient Greek philosophers were dabbling in questions and paradoxes, circling infinity, and people are still entranced by it today. The symbol for infinity looks a little something like this. Oh wait, there, that's better. The symbol for infinity looks like a sideways number 8. It was created by mathematician John Wallis back in 1655. Perhaps to represent the idea of infinity being boundless and without end. Let's take a closer look at the symbol. It isn't just a squiggly line. It's a continuous looping ring. There is no beginning. There is no end. The flow goes on forever. Or infinitely. Remember, infinity is a concept or an idea to think about. No one has ever seen or even counted infinity. We could really call it a generally accepted abstract scientific belief. And that makes it a really fun idea to talk about. First, let's shoot for the stars. A glance up into your night sky will give you a small glimpse into just how big our universe is. All the stars you see are only a part of our own galaxy, the Milky Way. But how many galaxies in the universe are there? A few years ago, scientists thought there were some 100 billion galaxies in our universe. Skip a few years ahead to today, and we now know that there are at least 2 trillion. But what comes after that? At the edges of our universe, is there more universe? Does it continue on without end? And that's the basis of the concept of infinity. This quirky concept can be a serious mind bender. As mere humans only familiar with the finite, that is, things with limits or bounds, imagining something that is without end is rather brain-boggling. In the realm of mathematics, we can see infinity represented in numbers. If you started counting at the number 1 and kept going, you would, theoretically, never reach the end. The highest number we have is called a googol. It's a number so massive that we can't even calculate the number of years it would take you to count to it. And even then, you wouldn't have reached infinity because you can't reach infinity. How do you count to something that continues forever? How do you count to a concept? I told you we were going to get loopy, didn't I? Here's a tricky question. Do you know what infinity plus 1 is? It's infinity. What about this one? What is infinity plus 15? It's infinity. Okay. Now here's a really tricky one. Are you ready for this one? What is infinity plus 1,346,849,238? It's infinity. Okay, infinity math is pretty fun. Another way we see infinity represented in math is through pi. My favorite is pecan pie. What is yours? Just kidding. Of course I'm talking about pi, the name of the number that represents the circumference of a circle, divided by the diameter of a circle. Why does this number get its own fancy name? Because it is an infinite decimal, meaning it starts as a normal-looking number, 3.14159. But the numbers don't stop there. They actually go on forever. But the best thing about pi is that it has its own holiday. That's right, every year on March 14th, also known as 3/14, mathematicians across the globe celebrate their irrational number together by eating lots of, well, pie. But infinity doesn't stop there. Get it? It never stops anywhere. Haha. Okay, sorry. Infinity jokes are just too easy. Before humans invented mathematics, nature was playing with infinity all by itself. We could see this expression represented through patterns throughout the natural world. One such representation is referred to as a fractal. A fractal is a repeating, never-ending pattern. Can you think of any repeating patterns you've seen in nature? Let's think together. A few examples of fractals found in nature include the icy lacework of a snowflake, the current of electricity, like a bolt of lightning, the branching of trees, a snail's spiral shell, and even the framework of our own circulatory system. It can be hard to imagine those things being infinite, but it isn't the object itself that is never ending. It's the pattern it comes in. Remember, infinity is a concept. We've got to think beyond the object. A fractal is a pattern that occurs over and over at smaller and smaller scales. Can you see how this pattern would continue without end? Another type of infinite pattern found in nature is called a tessellation. A tessellation is a mosaic, meaning it's the covering of a surface with geometric shapes without any gaps. We can see tessellations in the pattern of a turtle shell, a honeycomb, or the scales of a snake. Though indeed things like turtles and snakes are not infinite, the pattern they bear could continue infinitely. We're thinking abstractly here. Let's play out the scenario on paper to take a closer look. Do you have your worksheet? There is a triangle in the middle of your page. From the tip of that triangle, draw a line to connect the dot directly to the right of it. Then draw another line connecting to the base of the triangle. You now have two triangles sharing a border. Continue connecting dots to draw more bordering triangles. How's it going? You're probably drawing a good number of triangles. When you reach the border of the worksheet, you'll stop because you'll have run out of dots to connect. But what if you kept going past the edge of your paper and kept connecting triangles to your pattern? There's no stopping point. You could go on drawing forever. Well, eventually, your hand would get tired, or you would run out of ink in your marker. But you get the idea, right? This pattern technically has no end. You could try this practice with a few other shapes too. Practice drawing squares or hexagons in tile form. Once you fill up your worksheet, you can color in your work to create a colorful mosaic. We would love to see how your tiles turned out. Have your grown-up help you snap a pic and share using the buttons below. Tag Blue Studios to share. We can't wait to see how your tiles turned out. Let's review what we've learned today. Infinity is a concept that represents endlessness. Philosophers have been pondering this idea for thousands of years. Even now, we don't completely understand it. We could see the theory of infinity represented in nature, mathematics, philosophy, cosmology, art, and more. Endless numbers, boundless cosmos, infinite patterns. Oh, and a day dedicated to pie. It all makes for some pretty fun brain teasers. Is your mind properly melted yet? My noggin is certainly noodlified. I'm really glad you could join me today in our lesson to learn about infinity. Before we end this lesson, I'd like to leave you with a few more questions to ponder. Does outer space have a physical boundary, or does it continue infinitely? Is there really no greatest number? Does infinity really exist? I'll tell you one thing. There are an endless number of questions out there. Is there an infinite amount? Perhaps. We'll tackle them one at a time here at Blue Studios. Well, thanks for joining me today. I'll see you next time. Bye!